Alright, in the bottom left we have Fiven playing as Ryota, and in the top right we have Jam2020 playing as the twins. And we're seeing, yeah, they both know the opening. They're both gonna kind of just run across, let the swords do their thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to see both. Yeah, we're seeing both commanders go for the early lumbermill capture, which tends to be the winning opening. But since they're both going for it, shouldn't be a game that's decided too much by the opening.
Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know, this opening, you kind of just skip the village capture with your commander so that they can get to the lumber mill quicker. And it does mean that you then have to potentially contest with the sword, but it's not really the end of the world. And ooh, interesting, going for the capture from the forest.
Actually, we're seeing Jam capturing from the forest with the commander. And usually that hasn't happened because then a sword can decap the lumber mill, but looks like Fiven is not going for it here. So not going to have a big impact on this game. Or maybe it's an opening trap or something that I don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could potentially trap the sword. Ooh, Fiven's being very aggressive here.
Yep. I mean, we've seen this a bunch of times, like low HP commander going after the village. And Ryota has a very fast charge, so you could use the mobility to suddenly go to the middle or something like that. That's like the one thing Ryota can do better than other commanders is using his mobility early game to like be in an area of the map he's not supposed to be and really get a lead that way. We'll see what Fiven chooses to do with it. Could also just go for the village. Yeah, looks like that's the choice here.
Ooh, actually takes it out. I didn't realize that would actually work. But I guess people have calced it out to the point where, yeah, it's like going to be consistent every single time.
And we see a Harpy coming out as well. So they're setting up for their defense against the commander. They both went for knights, and then Fiven has a Harpy follow-up. Getting some air behind your knight is usually a very strong like army composition, because the knight is very good at it's pretty good at fighting, and if the knight loses, usually it's because there's a commander or there's like quite a sizable army. But when that happens, you bring in some air, and then the knight now becomes very a useful tool to zone out enemy mages, and now your air can just kind of run around uncontested. Okay. And wow, very aggressive heal by Ryota, and using the mobility of the wagon to really reinforce that position very fast.
Yeah.
And Jam2020 got a different village quite early as well, so we're seeing both of them being quite aggressive onto different villages. But let's see, I guess the twins are in a better position for a follow-up attack. They could like go after the strongholds, they could go after the barracks, but Fiven's, because he had to heal on the village that he just flipped, that village is pretty low, and Jam2020 has the option of building an air trooper to just go right above that gate and decap that village once again. It looks like the main fight is going to be to the top, where we see a spear actually hitting a knight, so...
Yeah, they're really juking out over here.
There is an uncontested Harpy, but that knight is eating a lot of damage and might actually die.
No, actually doesn't. Mind. We don't see the killing blow.
Chooses to go for more damage instead. I mean, it really depends like what you're trying to do for the next turns, which one is better.
Yeah, killing the knight's better.
It's better to... If you think you're gonna keep fighting next turn, usually it's better to go for more damage. If you think you're gonna disengage pretty soon, then finishing off the knight would have been better.
Yeah. While this is going on, this Harpy's getting so much damage. Because yeah, the mage has been so slow to reinforce. Like there's two of them, but it doesn't really matter how many mages
this
you have.
Harpy is actually now going center to zone the knight, but it might be in range of Jam2020's Harpy, I think. It could hit it with a crit if I'm not miscounting.
You are correct, actually.
And that might put a stop to these plans. Let's see, they both have grooves, didn't use them yet. We'll see where they want to go with that.
Speak of the devil.
We see a big scorching fire going after the barracks, it seems.
And there's that Harpy on Harpy action you were talking about. Yeah, that's actually looking really bad for Fiven. They're taking a ton of damage on their Harpy, and I guess it doesn't...
It looks like Jam2020 is doing a lot of damage this turn, and I'm not seeing a very good counter for Fiven. So we'll see how that goes. However, it is worth noting that Fiven...
wait, we got a Blade Dash.
We'll have that. And also an easier time getting an economy lead from his position, so I guess if Fiven can like play defensive and hold out, they're gonna be in a pretty good position. Although right now Jam2020 has the edge.
Yeah, because anything coming out of this barracks is going to get damaged, which is not where you want to be. Ooh, that's a lot of damage on those spears.
Yep. I think the crystal will die naturally next turn. The emblem, actually. But I think the emblem is actually blocking for Fiven on the defense here. But while all this is going on, the air trooper flies past the village to capture it. Like we said before, and looks like Jam is going more for an economic approach now, realizing Fiven has the potential to run away with it if they get too focused on these barracks.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some games previous to this on other maps, I would say, where people just focus far too much on shutting down the production and then lose elsewhere on the map.
It looks like Ryota is going to do a front switch and go after the twins, and that's also the sides where the twins have their stronghold, so could see the twins have to run away from this. Two knights also looking to front switch. Ooh, very nice find through the village. Knight going after the mage. I assume we're gonna see an air build right after this. Or heals the existing Harpy. That also works. But yeah. Now Jam2020 has only one mage, and that mage has to stay safe from two knights. And there's not that many units to cover for it, so...
Yeah, one of these knights getting shut down.
Can't really run away from this force, because they only have 3 moves, so they are just gonna get some damage before going down, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and also, you know, you've got a...
It's also, I mean, it's good damage, you know.
Yeah, it's really good gold value. You've got a mage nearby, so you really don't want those knights to be...
It's good damage, but unit count-wise, it's not the best to just lose a unit like that.
Yeah, but you want to keep your mage alive, and shutting down one of the knights does help a lot with that.
Yep. However, look at how Fiven is positioning their knight and Ryota. There is one special building on this area of the map that, should it go down, would decide the game.
Yep, it's actually wide open right now. And yeah, it's like... Jam is very out of position. There's like nothing really to
I think Jam misread Fiven's front switch, they thought they had to mainly keep their commander safe, so they positioned that wagon to have the twins be able to escape next turn. But Fiven was actually going for the stronghold here, and they're not in position to defend yet.
They're doing a decent job of getting some damage onto the...
I'm not sure the stronghold can fall this turn, but I assume a night crit is prepared. There's also Ryota Groove on the table.
Yeah, there is one night crit available, so...
Let's see. There's like every side is open, and there's Ryota Groove. Although there's not that many big units aside from the night crit that reach the HQ. And I don't think Ryota can charge for a tier 2 this. Let's see. Night crit gonna do like 56%.
Yep. Night hit on the back. So this one of the 15. Oh,
But that's also a crit.
That's
actually.
also. Oh wow, this is just over then.
Yeah, after the mage heal that does a lot of damage, and and now we see the classic Wargroove player thing, getting a few kills before the end. Yeah, I think RP should be enough. Ryota Groove should also be enough, and yeah, there we go.
I'm actually
RP
surprised.
going in for the finish.
I'm surprised they didn't try and do a flashy finish with Ryota, but
Yeah, I think Ryota wouldn't have been enough, but
it's always fun though.
yeah, it was only tier 1, but RP enough to finish the job.
Yeah.
And Fiven, I mean, Jam2020 had a pretty good position, but Fiven used the mobility from Ryota to turn things around and go for a quite surprising front switch onto the stronghold.
Yeah,
And, I mean, Jam2020 didn't get stuck into one mindset. They actually recognized that the twins were in danger, but they didn't recognize that their stronghold was also in danger, which allowed Fiven to get the kill.
Yeah, and I think one thing we don't necessarily see because we don't have the same kind of overlay, or at least like the third party stuff we were using for Wargroove 1 yet, but I think Fiven had a big economic lead throughout quite a lot of that game. Or at least like a small one.
I wouldn't say it was big, because I think they were trading villages, like different ones, pretty equally.
I think they did. I think overall they had an economic advantage though. And that Jam's main advantage was being able to put the groove down on the barracks. But I think Fiven had an economic lead and Jam felt pressured by that. I was keeping a close eye on the gold.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the kill score, it's also like Fiven has way more kills, and they didn't pad up the score that much on the last turn, so you would assume they have a unit count lead for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jam, like, you know, with that spear, for example, had to leave that behind. Yeah, that's like a good example. But there was like a tussle at the top where Fiven came out on top and Jam had to pull back, so... But yeah, it was a good game. It was a close back and forth one, I would say, until, yeah, Fiven just kind of opened up an opportunity to get a kill on the stronghold, and yeah, Jam was just completely out of position. They did like a decent job, I think, of trying to do some damage to the army and trying to block where they could, but like all four sides were open, like you said, so yeah, Fiven just able to punish that. And, yeah, really nicely done. Well played.